Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper 360.
Hi, I'm Anderson Cooper, and you're tuned in to Anderson Cooper 360. I love that face. And you'll notice the set looks a little different today. We have someone who is not Anderson Cooper with us. We have a very special co-anchor.
And my name is Mark.
Her name is Anderson Cooper's co-anchor.
And today we're going to be discussing the very under-recognized issue of stereotypes in the workplace. We've decided to get down to the bottom of this issue and see if our society really is racist, or if there are just structural issues that lead certain races to hold certain occupations.
Now, this photo, is it an innocent picture of a man who is the CEO of his company, or is it contributing to the reason that society is racist as a whole in placing certain career choices for certain races and individuals? Stay tuned and find out. And if you need a further reason to join our business, this is the chair of our company, and he oversees the board. To shed some light on the situation, we enlisted the help of two experts and a professional interviewer to compare what we see in society and what actually happens. Our first expert, Chief Jabbar Ish Kapel Laraming, had some news for us about race, society, and the workplace. Now, Chief Jabbar, would you say that there's a typical job or a stereotypical job that each race would hold?
Well, of course there's a job that would be stereotypical for each specific race. I mean, they're even backed up by statistics from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The statistics say if you're Asian or a white male, you have like a 17% chance that you are working in management or finance, compared to only a 10% chance if you're black, or even lower at 8% chance if you're Hispanic. To continue on about the stereotype, like a stereotypical job for a Hispanic male, it's not finance. Instead, it would say you're 25% more likely to be a construction worker, like 25% of employed males that are Hispanic work construction or farm-related jobs. This could be even higher, however, because most illegal immigrants who would not be in this statistic work construction or labor jobs because they don't have as intensive background checks. This compares pretty starkly with Asian males, who only 7% work a farm job or a construction physical labor type job. The stereotypes do seem to stand up to the statistics.
All of these are good points. However, if what you are saying is true, why do these jobs keep getting filled by the stereotypical ethnicity? Does this stereotype carry into the hiring process, or are there other factors at play?
Okay, well, I mean, of course for some people, like, their dad did that job, so they're going to do that job. Like, my dad was a carpenter, so I'm going to be a carpenter because he taught me everything I need to know about being a carpenter. That works in some scenarios, but in other scenarios you could say maybe people keep going into that job from that certain ethnicity because culturally, or their family that they're in and the group of people that surround them, that's the job they normally do. It's thought of as a respectable job. Like, for some people, being a construction worker growing up, like, that's not a bad job at all. You get paid well, you got a job. But in other cultures, say like Asian culture especially, education is highly valued, so that could be why you see Asians being more in the finance and the management sector and the professional programs like engineering and things like that. That's because from the time they were children, they were learning that education was super critical to like their parents and the people around them, so they grew up and kept pursuing higher education.
In addition to the job seeker, which we have addressed previously, do you feel sometimes that the race or ethnicity of the person interviewing for the job plays a role in them getting hired? My point being, do you think the differences in jobs are also created by the employer, not just the applicants?
I mean, I definitely agree with you there that it's a two-way street in terms of employment. Obviously, you can't get the job if they won't hire you, and I mean, they won't hire you if you don't apply for the job. But going back to the hiring process, I definitely would think there's something in there that's kind of prolonging these. For instance, like a college degree, some people are saying isn't enough to bridge the race gap still, which, I mean, it's proven in the statistics where like 25-year and older black males and white males, the difference in employment is 8.4%, or unemployment, sorry, for black males is 8.4%, while for white males it's 4.4%. And this is guys that have the same college degree, like same levels of education. There should be really no difference between them other than one is black and one is white. I mean, this is a 47% difference in hiring, and that's pretty ridiculous. I know a lot of people that are doing, or some people that are interviewing for jobs are feeling like they're being discriminated against for their names even. So like someone with like a stereotypically black name might not get an interview as easy as someone with a white name. So some people are trying to change their resume to make themselves sound whiter, I guess would be the term. Or like if they were a member of a certain club or organization in college that related to being African American, they will take that off of their resume, and they have found that they've been getting more interviews that way than leaving that on there, even though it's an additional qualification.
One expert was not enough. In addition to Chief Jabbar Ishkapal, we also enlisted the help of another expert, Mike. Mike is a professor at Harvard University. He holds degrees in ethnic studies, English, and hotel and restaurant management. And we have him with us here right now. Mike, do you feel that there are employers that are, so to speak, selectively hiring one race over another?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. So my answer to that question, it says employers are specifically targeting some other races with the hiring process for a number of reasons. For example, illegal immigrants from Canada and Mexico are willing to work for below minimum wage under the table, and therefore they can exclude citizens of any ethnicity from the job. Even though this practice is still used today, it's under violation of the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. If these employers were caught doing this, then they would be discharged immediately.
Do you find significant differences in unemployment rates among different races? Or is there a distorted view that society holds, such as one race contributing less to the workforce?
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2013, African Americans have the highest rate of unemployment at 13.1%. This number is significantly higher than most other races in America, especially Asian Americans, who found their unemployment rate is at 5.1%. This is partly because blacks describe their situation as having no jobs available for them. This process, though, could spawn from the result from the studies done by Cruz, among other social scientists, who found that when whites and blacks are given identical resumes, the white candidate was more likely to receive the job, 16% more likely, which is a significant margin in the hiring process. Whites with criminal records were even more likely to receive the job than blacks without poor criminal history, which shows pretty clear evidence that discriminatory hiring practices are still in place.
That's a great answer. I have one more question for you. In your opinion, why do you feel like this exists in society? Do you feel like it is a result of past racism lingering today?
I believe that this phenomenon exists because people have learned racism from their parents, who have learned it from their parents, and so on and so forth. Employers could have the thought that people of one ethnicity are unable to fulfill the job requirements to another ethnicity can fill. They're basing their qualifications on color as opposed to job preparedness.
Thank you, Mike and Chief Tabar. That's all we have for you today.
Thanks again for having me.
In order to get a public opinion on these issues, we've decided to ask day-to-day college students what they think.
Most of the answers were pretty surprising.
Hi, we are doing a group project on stereotypes in the workplace. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Sure.
All right, so when you think of professional athletes, which race first comes to mind?
Black people.
African American.
Okay, this is gonna sound kind of weird, but have you seen like CSI?
Yeah.
I think of like Lawrence Fishburne and the CSI guy.
When you think of, and then when you think of a typical job for an African American male, what do you think of?
I don't see any jobs actually.
Bouncer.
Okay. Hi, excuse me, sir. We are doing a group project on stereotypes in the workplace, and I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Yeah, go.
All right, so when you think of the job landscaper, what is the first race that comes to your mind?
Oh man, honestly, Mexicans.
Awesome.
Mexican.
Awesome, thank you. Nanny or maid, what's the first race that you think of? Definitely Mexican.
Hispanic.
Awesome, okay, thank you. When you think of a job for a typical like African American woman, what's the first job that comes to mind?
Waitress. DMV. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. DMV.
All right.
Like those telephone, like the dispatch people for. Have you seen The Call? This is just movie references. This is kind of embarrassing.
When you think of like gas station employees, what is the first race that comes to mind?
Man, I done seen a lot of gas station employees, so I really don't know. So I'd honestly say, probably Indian or Caucasian.
Awesome, thank you.
Arab.
Awesome, thank you.
Indian. Mexican.
All right, and then when you think of out of whites, Latinos, African Americans, Native Americans, and Arab, what do you think has the highest unemployment rate?
Arab. No, not really. Probably African American.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Arab American?
God blast. When you think of a typical white male job, what's the first job that comes to mind?
Someone who owns a gym.
Teacher.
And when you think of a typical white female job, what's the first job that comes to your mind?
Businesswoman.
Awesome. All right.
Like a baker. Like a baker.
When you think of someone that has a CEO position, what's typically the race that you think of?
Caucasian. CEO.
Yeah.
White.
All right. And
White people.
all right. And when you think of an occupation such as doctor, what is the first race that comes to mind?
White male.
White and Indians.
All right.
White.
Not Mexican, not African American. Definitely Caucasian.
And when you think of Asian American women, what jobs do you think of? Nail salon. Thank you.
Like a manicurist. The nail people. Nail salons.
Awesome.
Like a mathematician or something like that.
When you think of someone that works at a casino or owns casinos, what's the first race that comes to mind?
Probably Native American.
What is this guy doing?
Hello, can I ask you a few questions?
Sure thing.
All right, when you think of Asian American female, what's the first job that you think of?
Housewife?
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's some racist ass bullshit.
All right, when you think of an Asian American male, what's the first job that you think of?
Electronic salesman.
What do you think of that, Anderson?
That really rustles my jimmies. That really grinds my gears. Some would say, that doesn't tickle my fancy. It gets under my skin. The most radical would proclaim, it gets me a little angry. And for the entirety of our ridiculous segment, we only have one item, but it is a response that is truly racist. Some would say it's super very racist. Sensitive viewers in the audience, you may want to close your ears. Pregnant women and children, consult your physician before viewing this response. Here it is.
When you think of a Latino male, what do you think their job would be?
Drug dealer?
And we'll be back after a short commercial break.
Anderson Cooper, Anderson Cooper, Anderson. Hello, I am Professor Ratchford. As you can see, I have clothes that are 75% fashionable, 25% silly. Do you see this sweater vest? Who does that? I do. Some people say I like to talk with my hands. I don't know what they're talking about. Here is every essay my students have ever written. I don't plan on grading them. Ever. In my vocabulary, big words find themselves in there, like gregarious, presumptuous, shit, damn, you know, classical, elegant words. I don't grade these essays because I'm too busy doing manly things on the weekend, like talking very loud, working out, and other spider! Oh, shit! Oh no, I'm out. I'm out, spider. Those of us here at Anderson Cooper 360 thought the opinions of college students were not enough. In order to get an accurate view on this issue, we decided to interview Anderson Cooper himself on the subject. Anderson Cooper, we have a few questions for you. First off, when you think of a professional athlete, which race would you typically associate with this job? You know, that's actually a really tough question to answer. It's obviously the first race that comes to mind is African American, and it happens. You turn on a basketball game and you see one or two Caucasian males playing the sport, or even football. Most white positions are held by linemen or quarterbacks, whereas most receivers and running backs are African American. So is it really stereotypical thought, or is it just observations that kind of get ingrained in our minds that is the cause for this thought? When you hear of the job casino worker, what race or ethnicity would you associate with that position? Again, this one is less explainable, but typically when you hear of casino, you think Native American, Indigenous American. Again, it's not really a racist thought per se, but it is stereotypical, and that's something that makes you wonder why when I hear the term casino worker do I think Native American? It's really an interesting question that you ask, not because of the answer itself, but because of what the answer entails. And lastly, Anderson Cooper, what occupation do you typically associate or think that a Caucasian male would hold? Thank you for the compliment. I feel that the best answer for that question would be being Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper is not a person, it's a lifestyle, and I feel it's one that many people should lead, whether you be African American, Caucasian, Asian American, Arab American, Indigenous American, you name it. Ever since I've been Anderson Cooper, I've found that my life has been significantly better. That is pretty silly. Although it appeared upon the initial interviews that American society was just racist, After looking at the facts presented to us by our experts, most of their stereotypical ideologies proved true.
Which seems to bring up the much larger issue of why these structural barriers still exist today.
That's a good point, Anderson Cooper's co-anchor, but it's an issue that needs to be addressed. It's a sad day in America when color can affect the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness in the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hopefully the work we've done will not go unnoticed, Anderson. Our challenge to you, society, make some noise and speak up for your fellow man.
Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm Anderson Cooper.
And I'm Mark.
She's Anderson Cooper's co-anchor. Thank you for watching. Stay classy, San Diego. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper. Terrible response. One that made us gasp. Shock. What am I saying? I'm going to redo this take. Pregnant women, children, and fathers who are incapable of handling what I'm saying right now because this is stupid.
It was okay for a while and it just like kept going.
We have one response that is indeed ridiculous. Users who are sensitive in the audience might... Users who are sensitive in the audience? It's really seen that the stutter combo breaker to us by our experts. New video, please.
That was pretty gone right now.
Yeah.